Hello and welcome to another episode of All Politics is Local. I'm your host, John Tian. All Politics is Local is a production of the Greater Blackstone Valley Democrats. For more information about the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems, feel free to visit our website at www.gbvdems.org. We have another great show planned for you tonight. With me in the studio is a repeat guest. We have Brenda Ennis, currently running for state rep in the Worcester 18th District. Brenda, welcome back to All Politics is Local, and thanks for making us a stop on your campaign trail.
Absolutely.
How's everything going? Tell us.
Everything is great. It really is great. We're enjoying meeting the people. We've got a really great momentum going. These last 3-4 months, we've had a real blast of dynamic information going out there, and we also are hearing a lot back from the people, so it's going really well.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Yes.
I'm glad that things are going well for you. We have a little bit of an agenda to go over tonight, so let's take a look at what we're doing. First of all, Brenda Ennis, how would people find you if they wanted to find out more about your campaign?
Sure, absolutely.
Website, et cetera?
Yeah, website is www.brenda-ennis.com. Just on our website, the hits alone have increased tremendously, almost 200% increase.
Wow.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of activity.
Great.
Also on Facebook at Brenda A. Ennis, candidate for state rep of the 18th Worcester District.
Okay.
And I also Twitter at Ennis 2014. Try to put out a tweet or two every day. Mm-hmm. Getting some pretty good responses back, so it's kind of, I enjoy that. I enjoy the banter that you can have on the back and forth on the Twitter, so I enjoy that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's going good.
So things are going well. The 200% increase in traffic, that's always good to see.
It shocked us. It floored us. But it was great because it meant that the people are starting to hear the message as we get closer.
Yeah, starting to pay attention as the primary day draws closer.
Yeah.
Speaking of primary day, that's going to be Tuesday, September the 9th.
Right.
So everybody should get out and vote.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite sayings, democracy only works when we all participate.
That's right.
So everybody should get out and vote on Tuesday, September the 9th, both in the primary and then in the general election in November, the first Tuesday in November. I think it's the 7th. Oh, it's the 4th this year. Okay, good. I'm glad you know.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't.
I've got it down in my book.
All right. So how is the campaign going? You said that you're getting good interest on your website. How about,
we're out there. I'm trying to go out at least every day. I've been meeting recently. I've been with the seniors at the senior centers, and that's been a joy. That really has been a joy for me. They are so in tune to what's going on.
Sure.
They really get it. And you know what I'm hearing too, when I talk to families, they're really tired of the non-committed representative legislator who just kind of does this for the, I guess you could say, the political favor or the rubbing of the shoulders. Mm-hmm. They're tired of it. They want to see action. And I've let all of them know I am all for crossing the aisle over to the other representatives and working in unison with them. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay, I think, but we have to work together. The people expect it. And it's what I've done in Oxford. I've made sure that the collaboration between teachers and administrators in our school district alone is there. They can come to us, they can talk to us, we can share ideas. And a lot of times out of all those ideas come solutions to these problems.
Great, great. So how about endorsements? Have you had good endorsements?
I have. I was thrilled to receive the endorsement from the Women's Political Caucus out in Boston. It was such a informative and really inspiring interview for me, I guess I can say. These women that interviewed me were some of Boston's finest. They really were. And they took notice. They took notice of the campaign. They took notice of what's happening out in this area. And all of them said the same thing to me: just keep going. You're the only woman in that pool of candidates. You have to just stay focused and keep going. They've helped me tremendously. and I can call upon them anytime I need them. Also, I've been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, and I was endorsed by them because they seem to understand that I get the women's issue. I understand what's happening with the safe access. Planned Parenthood is not only about abortion. It has very little to do with that.
Right.
And even in its name, as was pointed out to me by one of my dear friends, it's Planned Parenthood.
Right.
So we had an extremely full heart-to-heart conversation. And I am, and I always will be, a devout Catholic, but I don't believe that I am a judge of anyone. And I do not believe that it is anyone's right to chase a woman down the street because they are going in for whatever their purpose.
Exactly, whatever reason they're
Whatever
going
the
in.
reason is.
We see them here in Milford. There's a Planned Parenthood office in the Grant
Yes.
in the Grant building over on Main
Yes.
Street, and they go out on the sidewalk and they walk around and they chant about abortion. The office that's here in town doesn't provide abortion services.
Right.
It's ridiculous for them to even be there. One thing that I've been meaning to do and I haven't done, I just want to stop and talk to them. A question that I would ask is, if the fetus you save turns out to be gay, will you still fight for its rights?
That's right.
And you know, because it is really it's ludicrous to me that the kind of emphasis that they put on fetal personhood. Well, what about personhood?
That's right.
You know, if my daughter needed a kidney, and the only match was your kidney, could I compel you to donate a kidney to her? No, I couldn't. I couldn't order you to give her that
Right, that's right,
kidney.
yeah.
You have bodily autonomy. So should she.
Yeah.
And she should have bodily autonomy over her choices as to when to have a baby, if
That's right.
if that's the case.
Absolutely.
You know, it flies in the face of logic to me. The amount of, you know, it seems like they only care up until the moment you're born.
Yeah.
Once you're born, you're on your own.
Right,
So,
right,
you know,
that's right, and that's very true. When I went to Boston that day, it was just before 4th of July. So Comm Ave in Boston, nobody was around. Everyone was gone.
Sure.
And to be honest with you, I was looking forward to seeing the protesters because I wanted to see how they would react with a 53-year-old
Yep.
walking into that building and then walking out of that building. But I didn't get that opportunity. But I did see the amount of traffic that comes through, and the amount of people that filtered through that lobby was amazing to me. And I was so impressed by the way that they were treated with dignity, you know. And then I went up for my interview, and like I say, it was a very honest and open interview. But the best part of that whole thing is, I made sure that they understood where I stand, you know, and how I feel that no one has the right to judge, especially strangers standing on a sidewalk, chanting, and then chasing women down the street. That is a criminal act in many ways.
How would they feel if I stood out in front of their church on Sunday morning
That's right.
and
That's
did some
exactly
sidewalk
right.
counseling on
That's
them
right.
as to whether or not they should be attending services at their church?
Exactly.
You know, the same thing applies, and the
Yeah.
same constitutional principles apply.
You know,
it is-
we don't know, like I've said to my daughter lately, I've said, you know, people know your name, but they do not know your story. So it's not right for anyone to judge. It really isn't. It's not a fair assessment. Go after the issues, absolutely, but to judge upon something that is either hearsay or, you know, on the rumor mill, not good.
Also, to my mind, if you're against abortion, then you should be for services that prevent abortions, things like
Yes.
family planning services,
Right.
things like age-appropriate sex education. Those are things that you should be for.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate, but they're against those as well.
Right.
And so it's kind of, you know, they kind of defeat themselves on that.
We did talk a bit about age-appropriate sex ed, and I did say I think abstinence should be a very strong topic because kids, some of them children, need to understand you don't have to succumb to that kind of pressure.
Right. Right.
You do not have to because somebody says it's okay, that's your age. stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
make your own decision.
My own daughter asked me at the tender age of 6 where babies come from.
Well, there you go.
So they do tend to get curious a little early
They
in life.
do, they do.
I explained to her
Sure.
your basic age-appropriate
Right.
explanation of where
Exactly.
babies come from.
Exactly.
And what was great about that was that it did open up the lines of communication to me. At the time, I was divorced, so there was days of the week where I wouldn't see her. And so being able to say to her, if anybody were to say to you, this is okay for you to do, you need to know that it's not okay. You're too little.
That's right.
And you shouldn't feel ashamed, and you shouldn't let yourself be coerced into doing
That's
something
right.
that you know you
Absolutely.
shouldn't be doing. And it was fantastic that we actually had that conversation, and it opened the lines of communication.
You need to talk to your children.
Exactly.
You need to
exactly.
do that.
You
Yeah,
really
definitely.
do. So, any other endorsements you care to mention?
Those two right now.
Okay.
Of course, I've had my share of recognitions from the House and the Senate for my public service in the past 11 years of my work on the school committee. I've received multiple citations from both the House and the Senate in different years for different reasons that they recognize the work that I've done on the school committee and publicly, speaking out on Chapter 70 especially.
So Chapter 70 is something that we have actually a different bullet item a little bit farther along. Let's continue to talk a little bit more about your campaign. How are you doing with volunteers and stuff? I know that after your first episode of All Politics is Local, you gave me a call a couple of weeks later to report that because of that you had actually
Yes,
picked
we
up a few
did.
volunteers, and I was so heartened to know that
did.
we made a difference
Yeah,
here
we
on
did.
this show.
Actually, one of them came today. She's here from Douglas, Debbie Hines, and she has jumped on the bandwagon full throttle. She is ready to go, and she's been awesome. I think that the message is that I am one of those candidates that's not a politician. I think people are really recognizing that, and I think they're beginning to embrace it, that I'm not connected. I'm certainly not going to sit back on my laurels when I get to the State House and wait to see what's going on. I'm ready to jump right in. One of the things that a woman had told me a couple months ago from town, who knows me, she's seen me around, she knows I'm vocal, she knows I have my opinions, and she also knows that I have action in resolution to any kind of problems. She said to me, Brenda, you know something? When you get to that State House, you are not going to be the typical freshman legislator by any means.
That's good.
She said, you are going to be ready to go. And her husband started to laugh. And, chuckle. I shouldn't say, he wasn't laughing, he was chuckling. And then he turned to me and he said, you know what? I'd like to be there for that. And we all had a bit of a laugh, but she was right. She knows, she's seen the work that I've done. She recognizes my spirit and my passion for this work. And she was 100% right, because I've already been doing it, on the school committee. I've been working for the people. I've been helping. I even step in when I shouldn't, probably, but you know what? If they don't want me, they can tell me to leave. But if I know if a family is having a hard time, or if there is an issue going on, and I know that I just might have that piece of help, I know that when I step in, at least I've given them the information so that they can use it or not.
Sure.
I had a woman who can't vote for me in Oxford. Her husband passed away from Agent Orange. She knew she had benefits, but she had no idea how to get them. She wrote letters, she made phone calls, all kinds of different avenues she took to get this resolved. She said, Brenda, can you help me? I can't vote for you, but I do live in Oxford.
When you say she couldn't vote for you, she's in a different
She's
precinct?
in a different precinct.
Okay.
Oxford only has precincts 1 and 4.
Right, okay.
So I said, let me look into it. I made one call to Congressman McGovern. His staff was on it right away. She got her benefits within 30 days.
Oh, that's tremendous.
She had tried for 3 years.
Wow. Well, that's Jim McGovern for you, though, too.
Right.
He's
But
awesome
she
with
would
his
never,
constituent
like
services.
she said,
Yeah.
she would never have known who to call.
Right.
Yep. And my initial call was to them was saying, she's tried everything. Please know that she's tried everything and she's not getting anywhere.
Yep.
A gentleman just called me last week. He's from Shrewsbury, and he's asking me to help him with a caregiving situation with his wife. We've made a few phone calls already. Tomorrow he should get some news.
Oh, that's terrific.
Because I know who to reach out to.
Right. Well,
I don't fumble around.
Right. You're very familiar with those issues around
Right.
spousal care, and again, that's another
Right,
bullet that we're going to be
right.
talking about
Yeah.
in a little while.
Yeah.
That spousal care bill that was up for consideration in the
Yes.
last session.
Yeah.
So we will talk about that.
I mean,
in a
I'm
little while, but-
resolution and action oriented. That's how I am. That's how I've been.
Uh-huh.
You know, I wasn't the greatest student, but the education I have received being on the Oxford School Committee has taught me more than anything you can ever read in a book.
Right. There's no substitute for real life experience.
No,
The
not these
classroom-
experiences.
The classroom doesn't do it for you.
Not like this, no,
Yeah,
no.
absolutely. So let's move on to let's see, campaign events. How
Sure.
have you been doing? Have you had several campaign events over the last
We've been
few
having
weeks?
some
or-
coffees. We've been having, went to a private party at a home in Sutton the other day. That went over very, very well. I'm out inviting people to come and see me. We've had a couple of coffees. I'll be on Jordan Levy next week. I'll be on Nichols College, the WNCR, I think it is,
Okay.
Nichols College,
Nichols College
Wormtown.
Radio.
Yeah, yeah. This Sunday at 10 o'clock. The media has been contacting me pretty consistently for interviews and things like that, like you have, you know, to hear what is my platform, what am I all about. This next 2 weeks, I will be focusing on Douglas and Webster and Sutton. I've done a lot of focus already in Oxford, so we're going to be putting our signs out. People say we started late with our signs. I think we're right on time because I do not believe in inundating this area with signs. I've never believed that. I don't think that works. Signs do not vote.
There you go. I was going to say the
Signs
same
do,
thing.
you know, you can put signs up everywhere, and those signs are expensive. We are running a very, very streamlined campaign here. We've said that from day one.
Right.
And we're focusing our efforts on putting our name out, absolutely, and doing standouts, which we try to do probably 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm hoping this weekend we're out everywhere as we get closer. But I want people to understand that you can put out 1,000 or 2,000 signs, and I think, in my opinion now, you're spinning your wheels because those signs don't vote.
Right.
People do.
People
and
vote. Yep.
people want to be able to discuss with you the issues, and that's what I've tried to do, is do that with them.
Okay, so
I
are
will be
you
at-
doing much canvassing? Are you going out knocking
We're,
doors and stuff?
we're going
Yeah.
out. We've kept it a little bit local right now, but now we're ready to go, you know, to branch out. I will be at Carl's Oxford Diner tomorrow morning at 9. Dan Coonan, the chairman of the Oxford School Committee, is hosting that event for me, which I thought was fantastic. He wanted to step up and say, look, here she is. I've worked with her. Let me tell you all about what she's about, and invite some of the folks in that are kind of regulars there at Carl's. So we're going to stop in there tomorrow morning.
Good, excellent. So one last thing on the campaign. What have
Sure.
you been hearing on the street? How's the response been?
The response on the street has been incredible, absolutely incredible. I love now when I go out with my button and people ask me, are you Brenda Ennis? I love that. And a conversation ensues.
Yep.
I've gotten a few phone numbers for people to, you know, give them a call. They have an issue they want to talk about. I'm getting a lot of emails of different questions. I'm getting a lot of Facebook hits of different questions, which is great. I spend my evenings and early mornings, that's what I do. When my lights are on at 2 in the morning, it is because I am up and I am answering or writing thank you notes or doing whatever.
Yep.
I believe it's very important to stay in tune with the communication. On the street, I think that, unfortunately, the focus is not as, I guess, significant as I hoped it would be for primary. I'm trying to spur that interest, but it's difficult because it's such a large pool of people.
Sure, and it's actually difficult because of the proximity to Labor Day.
Absolutely.
Most people really don't even begin to pay attention to politics until after Labor Day.
That's right.
And the primary is only 8 days later.
That's
So
right.
it's tough. It really is.
It is. It's been, that part of it has been tough too. But then you turn the corner and then you have someone that is so in tune with what's happening and can't wait to tell you their opinion,
Yep.
which that's what you want.
Right.
You know?
You want
So
those
it's a
involved
mixed-
voters.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a mixed bag. But the ones that, are saying, well, geez, I don't know yet. I don't know what I want to do. I've never heard of you. That's okay, because at least they've seen the face.
Right.
They've gotten the literature, and they can read it or not.
And now you've had a chance to educate them a little
Right.
bit and give them
Right.
give them a little bit of a face to go with a
That's
name
it.
and,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
it.
perhaps an issue to go with a name
Absolutely.
as well. So,
Yeah.
terrific,
Yeah, it
terrific.
is. It's
So
going
let's
good.
talk a little bit about some of the issues that we're facing in the 18th Worcester.
Sure.
One that's very near and dear to your heart. We'll start off with Chapter 70 funding.
Chapter 70 funding. I've been working on Chapter 70 now 7 years, and I want to be able to say when I'm at the State House, we've done it. It's worked. We've got a new calculation that is going to actually fund education in our area fairly, properly, give the kids the challenge they need, make sure they have the textbooks that they need to use, and really get them to push themselves to have the best education possible. It's fixed. We need to fix it. We have to come together and do that. So that will be one of my first charges, absolutely, will be to go after the, Chapter 70 right now is in committee. It has done nothing from all of the information and research.
Sure. Well, Beacon Hill, it seems like whenever something gets sent to committee, it gets sent there to die.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen. We have had some small tweaks to the formula by the governor, but they're hardly enough. They're hardly enough. It really needs, the whole formula needs to be changed to have that fluctuation in it when we have an economic downturn. When something happens in our community that the property taxes are not going to support this formula any longer, and it's not going to be your foundation formula. So it needs to be looked at soup to nuts.
Okay, so Chapter 70 is right at the top of your agenda. That's great to hear. We already kind of touched on this with the discussion we just had on Planned Parenthood, but
Yep.
women's issues.
Women's issues. One of the things that it does amaze me when I think of it, it's 2014 and we are still discussing equal pay.
I know.
I mean, we're not ignorant people.
But still, it's 77 cents on the dollar.
Right. And I think the solution to that is, and these are the people I will seek out to help me solve this issue, is the men. I will have those men that understand the value of a woman who can work, raise a family, do an awesome job for the business that he owns, and be able to say she should earn exactly the same as her counterpart.
Sure.
That is where this is going to come from.
Well, it is the old classic double standard too.
Big time.
You see things like there's a Republican running somewhere, I think in Iowa or somewhere. His 17-year-old daughter ended up pregnant out of wedlock, and he's preaching the abstinence-only sex education, et cetera, like the Republicans like to do. Nobody's asking, can he be a good father and hold a job?
Right.
But where a woman is concerned, can she be a good mother and still hold a job? That
Right.
seems to be a question that everybody asks.
Right.
Well, that's just patently unfair.
It absolutely
Nobody asks
is.
the question, can he be a good father and hold
Yeah.
a job?
And equal rights, of course, for women should be just a given.
Sure.
In 2014, I'm hoping 2015, this is the last we hear of it.
Well, yeah, I've seen so many protests across the country, women holding signs saying, didn't my grandma already have this
That's
conversation?
right. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is
Yeah.
kind of ludicrous that we're still
It is.
fighting those battles,
it is.
like you say, in 2014. It's the 21st century, and
That's
I
right.
really wish that some people would allow themselves to be dragged kicking
And that's
screaming
exactly
into
what
this.
it is. They need to allow themselves to open their mind to say, you know what, you're right. You're absolutely right. I've been in that position. I never knew it at the time.
Yep.
I had no idea, but I was in a management position, and I had a project manager who sat at the next office over from me. And when I left because I was going to have a baby, I found out what his bonus was at the end of the job. And I put in the 60 hours a week where he went home on his, at 40, 45. I went crazy. I couldn't believe that they took the value of the work that I had done and didn't even give it any consideration. But because he's my male counterpart, oh, well, he's the guy in the office.
Sure, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I was the girl in the office, and I worked a heck of a lot harder than he did.
It just doesn't seem fair. It
No,
really doesn't. It's like I said, it's kind of ludicrous that we,
Right.
I love the girls that are brave enough to go out there with those signs and say, didn't
I do
my
too.
grandma
I
already
do
have this
too.
conversation?
Yep, good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to
Sure.
the spousal care. That's
Yes.
a big issue with you, obviously, with the situation that you were in with your
Yeah,
husband.
yeah.
House Bill 2277. This is something I wasn't aware of,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you brought it to my attention. Tell us about your
Well-
opinion on what's happening there with the spousal care bill.
The spousal care bill would allow a spouse who is being the full-time caregiver to their husband or wife opportunity to get paid. And the opportunity to get paid comes from, instead of having an outside agency come into the home, then let them be the one, the husband or wife who is caring for the individual, be the one to receive a paycheck. I completely understand this. I, off and on for 7 years, could work now and then. Other times there was no way. I had to be home with my husband, Steve. There was no way that I could say, I'm leaving now to go to work, and know that he would be all right at home. I had to be there, bathing him, cleaning up, everything, making sure the meds were all set, taking him to his appointments, going to chemo, surgeries he had, staying at the hospital. The majority of his hospitalizations were at Boston Medical. So we had to make sure he would get there. We had to make sure that he was okay, he was well cared for, and biggest thing, I was his advocate. I was the one that did the talking. I was the one that dealt with the doctors and the insurance companies and all of that. This bill sailed through the Senate with full support. It got to the House, no discussion, no debate, it died.
That's a shame.
More so than that, it's a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace to let something like this kind of a bill that has so much compassion tied to it to not even be heard. That, in my opinion, is shame on them.
Right. Do you know if there's any other states that have any kind of a spousal care bill along these lines, or would Massachusetts be leading in this?
That I don't know. I have to say I believe that there are some, because I think in this case we are behind the times.
Okay.
You know, I remember this day till the day I die. There was a day I had Steve, we had a lot of things going on, and I didn't have money to get milk that day. And I remember that day and how I felt that I couldn't go to the store to pick up a gallon of milk because we were so broke. His care took so much, because once you have someone that is that ill,
Sure, chronic illness eats up your pay, or eats up your money.
I mean, it sucks everything out of you, and it really does damage to your finances. And it did to us because it was such a long-term illness. And so many other things went on with it.
And so expensive, yeah.
So expensive. The travel alone, the staying in the hotels when he had his, he had a 14-hour surgery. I stayed in a hotel for a week because of this surgery that he had. So I could be right there, I think that it's really important that caregiving of your spouse, caregiving of your children is looked at in a completely different way now. And you know who wants you to look at that too? Are the agencies. Because you know what? The agencies don't always have enough to provide you with that care. Who's going to come at night? How much are they going to charge you? My stepfather had ALS. When he had ALS, we had a gentleman come in that was a caregiver during the day. It was a fortune.
Sure. Now,
was a
when you say
fortune.
ALS, you're talking amyotrophic lateral
Yes.
sclerosis, or
Yes.
Lou Gehrig's disease,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all took care of him in shifts. I had the night shift, and that's when he was up because his whole psyche switched over.
Sure.
So he was up at night. And I was working a full-time job, plus I had a 4-year-old, and Steve was just starting to get ill. So the impact of all of this financially, can ruin you.
It's
you
easy to
know?
see where it'd be devastating.
Oh,
Absolutely.
it's absolutely devastating. So I think something like this should at least be discussed and at least have debate. And I think that those legislators that just let it die on the floor, shame on them because of the lack of compassion and the lack of just the humanity to hear about this bill so that others could understand it's out there and can we access it? How can we make this happen? So it's something, that's another one now has become one of my top 5.
So, yeah, so something tells me if you do get to the House of Representatives, okay. I need to be impartial, so if you get to the House of Representatives, something tells me that's going to be right at the top of your
Absolutely.
list. Is something to work
absolutely.
on, something to push for. So good for you.
Thank you.
And you have an awesome understanding of it, having been through what you've been through. So it's really tremendous to see that you'll be an advocate for that.
Thank you.
So, let's talk a little bit about mental health issues.
Sure. Well, we know that when we talk about mental health, somehow it always intertwines with the gun control now. And I think that that is something that really needs to be looked at. I think that, again, instead of being so separated in the conversation of I'm right, you're wrong, why not say, look, this is my idea, here's my idea, let's hash it out.
Let's work together.
Let's talk about it.
I think that we need to reframe it a little bit too. When you say gun control, I prefer to use the words gun safety.
Yes.
It makes much more sense to just say we need to be safe about these things.
Right.
You know, people who have a mental illness, like Adam Lanza in the Newtown shooting, clearly was mentally ill. He should not have had access to those weapons.
Exactly.
Mandatory trigger locks. Something that simple could have prevented that whole.
That's right, something that simple.
Yeah, Nancy Lanza could still be alive. Adam Lanza could still be alive. 26 children and educators could still be alive.
Right.
And that scar on our national psyche need not be there.
And you know, those parents now from Newtown are all wondering, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Where are all the legislators that were ready to get to work? Where did they all go?
Yeah. There's actually been a loosening of gun restrictions in this country since
there has
Newtown,
been.
and it's really sad to see that happening.
And I certainly am not a proponent to say you should have a gun, you can have a gun, you can't have a gun. That's not my point. My point is, when there is mental illness and it is known, action must be taken immediately. Not, oh, everything will be okay, you know, we'll get through this. It shouldn't be like that. Action must be taken immediately. That's my thought.
Okay. Anything else on mental health aside from gun safety?
For children, I think that we have to focus a bit more on mental health for our younger, especially our teenagers. If you see something, I think that's different in their attitude, or something just doesn't feel right when they come home from school, or, you know, they're dressing differently, they're not eating right, they're not sleeping right. I think that conversation has to come into play. Absolutely.
Right. I recently had an opportunity to do the voiceovers, you know, my
Yes.
voice, right?
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to do the voiceovers for Milford Public Schools.
Oh, good.
One of their training videos that they're doing about cyberbullying and bullying in general and things of that nature. And then that's one of the things that they talk about, you know, look for changes.
Yes.
If there's a change in classroom participation, if there's a change in behavior, if there's increased absences, et cetera, those types of things are the types of things that you should be on the lookout for.
Absolutely.
To see what's going on. And so I take your point very well. That,
Thank you.
That, you know, we do need to look for changes in behavior.
Right.
I mean, certainly as kids grow up, they'll change a little bit, but marked changes like that, these are things,
things that you say, something, you know.
Yeah.
I think that you need to have the conversation. I do think that, you know, the medical, whoever it is that you want to contact, whether it be your pediatrician or the doctor, the conversation has to begin, because so much help is there. And the stigma must be released, because it is not something, oh, I'm crazy. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you may just be having a tough time right now with
That's,
something.
and
but,
that's exactly what it is.
but we
You're
need
having
to-
a tough time,
yeah.
and there's people that are going to help you get right through it.
Sure, you got to work through it, and you got
Yep.
to make some changes of yourself to get through it.
Right.
So, okay, let's see. We talked a little bit before about your lawn signs and buttons. Do you want
Yes.
to talk a little bit more about that?
Lawn signs are coming and probably be popping up. You never know when they'll show up, and that's the way we like it. And if anyone would like a lawn sign, they can contact me through the website or through the Facebook page.
Okay, let's reiterate those.
Sure.
What is your website? What is your Facebook page?
Website is www.brenda-ennis.com. And my Facebook page is Brenda A. Ennis, candidate for a state rep of the 18th Worcester District. We've increased our hits on that also, of our, I guess they call them the likes. So that's even, you know, we've had this great spurt right now, so we're keeping that momentum going. And we have the buttons. Like I said, you know, we're keeping this campaign streamlined. We're not going to go crazy. I will not have 2,000 signs out there, I can assure you now. But we will have our name out there definitely.
Well, at $6 a pop, it would be hard to rationalize investing $12,000 in
No,
lawn
I
signs.
couldn't do that. I couldn't do, not with a 16-year-old at home. No, getting ready
that
for
at
college.
least $6 is what we paid with Casino Free
Yeah, that's
Milford
what
when
we're
we did
paying.
our our effort to keep the casino out of Milford last fall.
Yeah.
So
And that's a good price.
yeah, it is. Oh,
That's a good price.
Yeah, we were buying in bulk.
There you go. There you go.
So we did. We put out about 1,000 lawn signs.
Yeah. Well, for
in
that I
effort.
can see. You know, I
Yeah.
can see.
Well, yeah, that made a big difference. It
Sure.
did. Yeah. Neighbors putting a sign on their lawn really let everybody know that there was a lot of
An
opposition
issue.
in
Sure.
town, an issue. Yeah, exactly, an issue that was worth addressing.
Right.
And it really, it was tremendous that we had the turnout that we did.
I know
for the,
you
for
really
the
did have a
referendum.
good turnout.
We
yeah.
did. We had about 57% turnout of our registered voters for that referendum. It was really tremendous.
Excellent.
So, one of the finest campaigns that I've ever worked on. We've actually kept ourselves together too. We've reformed as Citizens for Milford. So we kept our CFM.
Oh, good.
CFM initials.
Yeah.
And we're a nonpartisan group. We're hosting a candidates debate in October.
Excellent.
For our state representative, John Fernandez. He's
Yes.
got 2 people running against him in the Republican primary.
Yeah.
So that'll be decided on September the 9th. As to who's going to be his opponent, and then we have Dick Moore and Ryan Fatman coming
Excellent.
in for the second hour
Oh, that's
of,
great.
Our debate.
That's
so
great.
yeah, we're really looking forward to that.
Very good.
And in fact, this show is going to be out on the air in Oxford, Sutton, Webster, and Douglas. Those are all towns that are involved in the race with Dick Moore.
Yes.
That's his district,
Yes, he's
the
our
Worcester
senator,
Norfolk Senate
yes.
district.
Yeah.
So absolutely, we invite people from those towns to come to Milford Town Hall. It's going to be Thursday, October 23rd. Starting at I think 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
To go to about 9:30, somewhere around there. People are certainly welcome. It's a free event. Absolutely come out and grab a seat, and
Super.
And we'll be asking for questions from the audience, et cetera.
That's great. That's
So,
even better.
yeah. Oh, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We've got a really great format planned, and we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a
Good.
lot of fun.
That's good. Very good.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to be happening on Primary Day. We've
Primary
got,
day, we have our victory party planned at the VFW in Oxford, Mass.
Great.
It will be a potluck, and it will start around 6 o'clock. People can start coming in. You don't get in unless you voted, so they have to have voted.
Are you going to stain their thumbs purple? or
Yeah, I
anything?
know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But we will have people at all the polls. Everyone will be out that day. I'm allowing my daughter to take the day off from school.
Great.
She is going to help on that day also. She's kind of looking forward to that, I
Well,
think.
maybe she can get a civic participation credit
She
or
might-
something along
I
those
think,
lines.
I think with the credits that community service that she's done for her mother,
there you
she's
go.
covered for National Honor Society. So that's what we're going. That's what our plan is. You know, we're just going to have a nice evening, a victory party, and ready for the next day on September 10th to hit the ground running for November 4th.
Great, great. Well, we've actually run through our outline right here, so I'm going to revisit a couple of topics that
Sure.
we talked about earlier. Why don't we revisit Chapter 70, since that's something
Okay.
that's absolutely very, very near and dear to your heart. How would you go about reforming the formula? What would you do to make sure that that towns like the ones you represent or that you're hoping to represent would get a better shake or a more fair shake
Well, I
as far
think
as
that
Chapter
the
70?
economics of those communities and communities like ours need to be reviewed and examined very closely. We are not Wellesley. We are not Weston. We are not Canton. We are not these towns. I think that the Commonwealth really has to get a hold and take a grip of how this formula can work for all of us, not just for those that have the money with the big homes, the higher tax rate. It has to come down to some type of strategic way to formulate it. It was created by economic gentlemen and women and superintendents in the 1990s. And the way that they formulated it then, it worked. But in 2014, so much has changed. So much has changed in our towns and our communities. In schooling and education alone,
Sure.
you can't expect a high technology world and have a high school student that's only going to get $25 for the foundation budget, and that $25 has got to cover their technology for that school year. How is that doing anything good for them?
Sure.
Nothing.
How is that equitable? How is that
Right.
fair?
It's not fair, you know. I think that the other problems that we also have is we have to sit down with our town fathers and work with them, work with the finance committee, which is something in Oxford we're doing very well right now. We're sitting down with our finance committee to find out how do we make up for the differences in the Chapter 70 funding, because we can't wait any longer. The more we wait, the further behind we're getting. I'm very interested to hear what they've done or how far this committee has gone in regard to this issue at the state level. I can't find anything. I can't find really any research. When I look, I don't see any meeting minutes or anything for the discussion. I don't know what's happening. I know that our commissioner keeps on layering upon layer of mandates that are going to be unfunded. So a lot of the education expense needs to be reviewed. And that would be my first thing to do, is where are we at right now currently? Because it's not the 1990s.
Right.
You know, it is 2014 going into 2015. And even though our MCAS testing scores are, and I'm going to say they're okay, even though everyone likes to tout that they're wonderful, they're okay. They're not wonderful. They're not the greatest, in my opinion. They're okay.
Room for improvement.
Always.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah.
you know. And so I think the room for improvement here lies in the funding formula, and we need to sit down and find out what it is.
Okay. When you talk about unfunded mandates, one of the educational aspects of my show, something that I never expected to have happen to me, I had Suzanne Bump
Okay.
come in, our state auditor,
Right.
came in to be on the show. I think it was in either May or June. It was earlier this year.
Okay.
And one thing that she told me was that she's involved with unfunded mandates. That's one of the things that her office handles. They look at unfunded mandates and determine whether or not the legislature should make allocations of funds
Okay.
to fund some of those mandates, whether or not it's fair to expect cities and towns to be able to handle those unfunded mandates. So certainly when you're looking at unfunded mandates, that might be something to keep in the back of your mind. This might be something worth approaching the auditor's office for.
Oh, definitely.
And ask them for help as to whether or not you could actually get some funding for it. Because, you know, like I say, when they hand down these kind of like edicts from on high, you have to do this, you have to do that, but you have no wherewithal with
Right.
which to do
To
it.
do it.
You know, certainly the auditor's office may be able to help. And
Yeah.
Suzanne was wonderful. She was so much fun to have on the
good.
show.
That's
Her
good.
energy is tremendous.
Excellent.
And she's doing a great job
She is.
in the auditor's spot
Yeah,
for us.
she is.
So yeah, she's been great.
When it comes to the funding, I'll talk about just regular funding. In our town, I have stood up at many town meetings and said, I will never play the game. I will never support putting our police, our fire, our DPW against the schools. It's not right. It's not fair. There is a solution here.
Sure.
But the bickering and all of the finger pointing, like I said earlier, has got to stop. You know, the Democrats love to blame the Republicans, and the Republicans love to blame the Democrats. Well, maybe if you all sat down together and hashed out this whole issue, you may, within a few meetings, come up with a solution.
Sure.
And people will say, wow, thank you very much.
Right. That's what
You know?
we need are solutions. People have
That's
this.
what we absolutely need.
People seem to have this
Yeah.
this idea in their heads that we need bipartisan solutions. We need bipartisan solutions. Actually, we need solutions.
Just solutions. Just solutions.
Solutions would work.
Right,
you
and
know?
talk to each other.
Right.
You know, I love to, obviously, I love to talk and communicate and get the ideas out. I enjoy that very much. I think that's what drives me, is that I have that kind of passion. Like, I'd like to pick it apart and put it back together again.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would ever describe you as introverted. So.
Just hope not.
me neither.
No, you too, right? But that is what has given me this challenge, is to, instead of complaining about it and not doing anything about it,
Right.
I want to be the one that says, look, stand up.
And let's do something.
Let's do something. Let's
Yeah.
get it going here, because we can do it. We
Right.
can do it. And I'm the kind of person that put the pressure on properly to make sure that at least I would get an answer back,
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that I even do this program in the first place is because I believe very firmly in people power and
Yes.
people-powered politics. And the way that I look at people-powered politics, it's not a bunch of people sitting around like the old days saying, someone should do something. What it is it's a bunch of people sitting around saying, hey, look what I did. And that's what I can say about this show. Look what I did. I put together a program that
Right,
goes out
that's right.
across the district. I'm right now in 8 towns across the district, and in fact, I'd love to be on the air in Webster and Oxford. So if you could
Oh,
help me get on
yeah.
the air in Webster and Oxford, I would really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
would love that.
The Oxford cable people, I've talked to them. They're kind of on the fence about having a political content on
Yeah,
their
yeah.
cable station. But at the same time, I mean, PEG access. PEG means public, educational, and
Right,
governmental.
right.
And sure, there's maybe a political show and maybe has a left-leaning slant because it's put on by a Democratic organization. But at the end of the day, it's about our government,
Yeah.
and it's about electing our government
Right.
and how our government runs.
Right.
And so but this is one of the things that I can say, look what I did.
That's right.
This is something
And how
that I've
well
done.
it's going. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
This will be my
Yeah.
21st episode, I think.
And it's been viewed
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I checked on YouTube, and I think I'm almost up to 90 views. So,
Yep.
and on my website, I mean, it's being viewed also, so I
Sure.
get to see,
Yeah.
And I'm amazed that people actually are taking their computer and sitting down and listening, and
Exactly,
it's great.
yeah. When people
And
sit
I've
for
had
an hour at the
I know
computer,
it,
yeah,
I
it
know,
is-
and
it
I've
is
had
amazing.
feedback and everything.
Yeah.
So, I think the best part of all of this for me has been working with the people and meeting the people and hearing what they have to say. I think now that they've gotten to know me somewhat, that they see that it is my life's work. It is my passion to do this job. I do it well. I do it now. And also, I'm not a politician. I know politicians. I know Senator Moore. I know our state reps. I know them. But I'm not a politician the way they are. And I think that's one of the best things I like about myself. I say it the way I see it. I'm not afraid to ruffle feathers. And when I do, well, if you can't take it, then you're in the wrong business.
Right.
And I don't mind my feathers being ruffled. That's all right, too. But you know what? I'm not going to be the one who says, well, somebody else should have done it.
Right.
You should call them. I don't know what to do about it. Like I told you with the woman with her husband and the Agent Orange and the gentleman from Shrewsbury. Hey, all it took was a phone call, and here we are. She's receiving her benefits that she fought for 3 years. And the whole testimony is on my Facebook page. She wanted everyone to know that one phone call that she made to me and how it went and how it resolved and revolved into a success story for her. So it's everybody's good at something. Everyone is good at something. I am really good at this. It means everything to me.
Well, you certainly bring a lot of energy to the debate and to the
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah,
So-
I definitely want people to know that I'm not going to turn my back on them. Even the ones that have been nasty to me.
Sure.
It's okay. I understand. But be respectful.
Yeah. Well, you'll be representing them as well.
Absolutely
and
will.
that's-
100%, 110%.
That's always something to
Yes.
keep in the back of your mind, no matter the position people take.
That's right.
You're representing everyone.
That's exactly right.
Right. You're not just
You know?
representing those folks that voted for you.
No.
You're representing everyone.
Because I'll
so-
never know who did and who didn't.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing, I think. Yeah.
Yep. So We have about 8 or 9 minutes left.
Okay, all right.
Let's talk a little bit more about women's issues. It's great that Planned Parenthood gave you their endorsement.
Yeah,
That's
it was
wonderful.
great. It was.
Tell us a little bit more about women's issues. Where are you on kind of the war on women, right?
Sure,
Isn't that
sure.
going on these days?
Having a 16-year-old, I worry about her future. Of course, she's a smart young lady. She's going to be class president of her junior class as she's entering in. I have a lot of her friends in and out of our pool in the summertime, and
politics is in the blood, huh?
I don't know. I don't know. One of her teachers said, "What are your mother and you trying to take over the world?" I thought that was hysterical, but no, we're not. But I worry for her. I worry that she is given the same opportunities as her friends, her male friends. I worry that her friends, her female friends, are given the same opportunity. I want them to feel safe. I want them to know that there are people that they can go to that will help them when they need it. But you've got to reach out. You've got to take sometimes that first step.
Right.
I want her to be able to speak for herself and not think that she has to, like I call it, a shrinking violet.
Or, to take the wallflower approach, right?
She's not like that, but I want her, when it comes out to the business world, whether she's talked about being a school teacher, she's talked about being a social worker, she's had a lot of different ideas of what she wants to do. I want her to go out there and get what she wants so that she's happy. But I also want her to be treated well by whoever it is that hires her, just as I want to be treated well. It shouldn't be the boys' club, the girls' club, the old boys' club. It should not be like that. We are all people that should be treated with respect. So that is one of the, I think that's one of the main drives for me when it comes to women's issues. I think of her. I think of my friends, too. I have friends that have done very well in life. They've done very well in different things, but I know that they haven't been treated fairly. Women shouldn't be at the bottom of the totem pole. There's a lot of times we're smarter. We're a lot smarter than the men. And I think that is something that needs to be protected and brought the proper attention brought to that issue. It isn't fair for an employer to think that it's all right to pay a woman, like we said, 75 cents, we'll say, an hour less to a man just because he's a man. What does that even...
It should be based on qualifications. It should be based on...
on qualifications and how well you do the job.
Right.
You should be looked at in the same manner.
Sure.
So that is, when I think of those women's issues, and I think of the women today also, I have to say the ones that I've met, the single moms that I've met that are struggling, they wonder sometimes where they're going to get their diapers. They wonder how are they going to make it.
Yep.
The fathers are out of the picture. I worry for them. They want to get jobs. The women I've met would love to get jobs, but they can't find the child care so that they can go out and get the jobs. I want to be able to say to them, look, we can fix this. We can take this issue of you not being able to get a job in child care, and we can present a proper legislation to at least be discussed and debated fairly and equally at the State House. So that's I think what drives me when it comes to the women's issues. I want them to be safe and I want them to be treated equally.
Okay, and that's a nice segue into let's call this our last topic. We'll talk a little bit more about the spousal care bill.
Yeah.
When you say something needs to be discussed and debated, clearly that bill was kind of given short shrift in the House, and so let's talk a little bit more about that.
I wonder why. I do wonder what is it that they saw in that they didn't think needed to have any discussion, no debate, just pushed aside, especially when it came so strongly through the Senate.
Right.
I would think that they would at least put an eye on it and say, we should say something. We should take a good look at this. There is a need for this. There are more and more and more people staying in their home. They're staying in their home because that is where they want to be. If I could have had Steve stay at home when he was so ill, I would have done that in a minute.
Sure.
Because it is where he wanted to be and it's where we wanted him to be. I got him home for 3 days, and then he passed. It was the best 3 days, I think, for him because he knew he was home, he was in his own surroundings,
Right.
and he was with his family.
He was comfortable.
He was comfortable. I think that that's so important, that people need to understand that this compassion and this kind of care happens everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. And it can happen to you at any moment. Any moment you could become a caregiver to your spouse without warning.
Right.
There's
no guarantees in life, right?
There's no guarantees and without warning. And that's how it happened to us. It hit us like a bullet.
Yep.
You know, and when he was well, it was great. When there was a remission, it was great. But to know that there is somebody there that will say to you, look, we recognize how hard you are working because it is an unbelievable job. There are things that I did that I never expected I would be able to handle, and I handled it.
Mm-hmm.
My friends would say to me, I don't know how you did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. And I said, you don't even realize you're doing it at the time until you stop. And when you stop and you say, how did I do that?
Yeah.
How did I get through that?
Sure. You can exercise a little hindsight and say,
That's right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a bill that deserves attention. I think it absolutely deserves compassion. And I think it's one of those things that needs to be brought back. And from my understanding, it will be in the 189th session of the House
Excellent.
on January 1st, 2015, and I intend to be there.
You intend to be sworn in.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Well, Brenda, believe it or not, we've gone through
Okay.
an entire hour, and it was wonderful having you here tonight.
Thank you.
We'll get this episode into your hands. I'd like to get it on the air. Obviously, I've got other episodes that are out right now.
Sure.
In this end of the district, I've got John Fernandez on the air. I've got Marty Green. But certainly
Okay.
in your end of the district, you can put this one on the air in place of, say, John Fernandez, because obviously he doesn't make any difference to people out on your end of the district.
Well, I appreciate it, John, very much. I like this forum very much. You do a nice job,
Thank
with
you,
the
thank
interview.
you.
You really do.
I
so.
really try to make things comfortable for
You do,
people, and so
you do.
yeah. So looking forward to a great race, and good luck on primary
Thank
day.
you. Thank
it's
you
wonderful
so
having
much.
you.
Thank you.
You've been watching All Politics is Local. All Politics is Local is a production of the Greater Blackstone Valley Democrats. For more information about the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems, please feel free to visit our website at www.gbvdems.org. Thank you for tuning in, and good night, everybody.
Good night.